Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
Mario Götze! Mario Götze!
Tonight, whether you call it football, or soccer, a German American and a German in America dare to call it Fußball. German football from an American point of view. Let's add some buns to that hamburger and join them for the Schnitzel Boys Deutschland Hour.
Well, here we are on a Wednesday, celebrating the end of international break, of the dreaded international break, the dreaded September international break that only a VfL Bochum fan could love.
We celebrate the end of the international break by commemorating September 11th, the terrorist attacks of 9/11, 23 years ago now.
Yeah.
The perfect end to international break is the anniversary of the September 11th, and we have decided to do that consciously. So here we are.
Yes, that's it. Because
I can't think of
there's nothing more
two more terrible tragedies.
Nothing more than this international break at 9/11.
Than the two USA friendlies we had this past week.
Oh, we're gonna start with that. Okay.
No, I'm just improvising. I'm just spitballing here.
I was gonna say there's nothing more international than a terrorist attack.
The September break, I complained about it because the seasons are just starting. That's kind of what your Bochum reference was about. It's like, it's like we're just starting. The transfer window just closed.
Yeah, I've heard other people say that too. You're not alone. You're not alone in that opinion. And I'm only in favor of it this year because the late arrivals of the Bochum players and they need the time. I don't know. Is it gonna make a difference? We'll find out this weekend.
Well, that was my thoughts beforehand, and I actually had a really good time watching this window. So while it was happening, I was like, I'm all about this window now. Simply because we are covering the international window, and here at the Schnitzel Boys, we have our feet in two camps. And that's the good thing about having two teams, at least for me. I know you sort of just have one, but for me, I got two teams.
Well, national teams, yeah.
That's what I meant, national teams. So for some people who have multiple passports, like me,
right,
have two teams. However, I'm seriously considering renouncing my U.S. citizenship, getting rid of the U.S. citizenship, and only being a German citizen, just so I can root for the German national team.
After this window?
After this window. But you know what?
Yeah,
Germany's doing great. Now, as a German American, for the last 6 years, it's actually been pretty poor for both programs.
Yeah.
For me. However, under Julian Nagelsmann, Germany continues. It's only been, a year? When was he appointed? Not even a year ago, right?
After the World Cup, yeah?
February or something. Or was it that?
It's been it's been a year and a half.
Oh, it gets longer than I realized.
Because the World Cup was in a weird time, end of 22.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Flick kept but then fired because he was fired?
No, he was you're right.
Right.
That is true. There is a little bit of no. You're right. That's absolutely true. So he's like, it's been a year. It's like a year plus.
Here we go. When was he appointed? Julian Nagelsmann appointment. When was in September of 2023? It's the 1 year anniversary.
It's the 1 year anniversary of Nagelsmann.
And I'll tell you, it's been a pretty good year.
Celebrated in style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty good year. The Euros, we made it to the quarters. We lost to Spain, the eventual winner, in a very closely fought game. A little unlucky, perhaps. The handball. Füllkrug hit the post. Havertz had a chip opportunity that didn't quite land. So we could be forgiven for being feeling a little hard done by for that game, but Spain eventually went on to win. So that was a pretty successful feeling tournament. You'd like to say something?
The other thing about the tournament is remember rooting for Niklas Füllkrug scoring that late tie against Switzerland, that late tying goal, right? If he never scored that goal, we probably would have made a run to the final.
Yeah, I mean,
One of the many things
Hätte, as they say in Germany, hätte Fahrradkette. It's we would have had to get past England and wait, who was on the other side of the draw? Yeah, okay, sure. Perhaps
we wouldn't have had to play Spain until the final. Yeah, and I forgot it.
But we would have. We would have played England. We would have played. I mean, it's not. There's no guarantees. But yeah, that's true. Math can be a cruel mistress sometimes.
The summer tournament was good because it was like Germany is back, baby. And then the question for this fall is like, well, Toni Kroos came back and he was a huge help. But now he's gone. Toni Kroos is gone. Thomas Muller's gone. Ilkay Gundogan, a newly appointed captain, he's gone.
Gundogan's gone.
Manuel Neuer, legendary captain, stalwart, he's gone. Pretty much there's a new Germany happening here. It's been slowly transitioning, but we had a new young crop of boys. It's a new Germany happening.
Well, and we were
the North American World Cup.
We were wondering how would this, how's this new setup going to work in the midfield, because Kroos and Gundogan are two very specific players. They're not easily replaced, and I think it's fair to say a spectacular success in that regard. This window didn't lose a beat. We now have a double pivot. I mean, it's a 4-2-3-1. I think that's the same
Christmas tree.
The same formation we've played previously, but the big revelation for me, we've texted about this, was Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is playing the 10. Kai Havertz is playing the 10. He was the 9 before. He was playing as the striker. Him and Füllkrug were kind of alternating, and now in both games, Kai Havertz was part of a front line. The 3 of the 4-2-3-1 was Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, and Kai Havertz in the middle. And that worked at times spectacularly well, I would say. In the first game, the 9 was Füllkrug, who seemed not super sharp. He has been struggling to get playing time at West Ham in the Premier League, so we'll see how that develops. In the second game, Dennis Undav of VfB Stuttgart got the start. They're not the same type player. Füllkrug is is taller. He's more of an aerial threat.
Target.
He's a target, but Undav is a proper striker too. He is very scrappy. He's very strong in the box. He's a pain in the ass probably for every center back to play against, and he had a goal and an assist or 2 goals. What was it? He had
a great goal against Netherlands. I don't know about the assist
and I think he assisted on the other one if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so this worked immediately well, and then behind this front line, this pretty intimidating front line, we had this double pivot, the 2. Which was Robert Andrich and Pascal Gross in the first game and in the second game. But then also Alex Pavlovic came off the bench, Emre Can came off the bench. So there's some options in that spot. And so it immediately seemed like a system that was very accommodating to this squad, And Kai Havertz is not a knipser. We know this, although he's been scoring a lot for Arsenal, so his record kind of is getting better and better. But he had he missed a sitter. He scored a penalty against Hungary. He missed kind of a sitter against the Netherlands, but that's why he's better off in that in that slightly deeper role. He covered an enormous amount of ground. He helped out defensively, especially in the game against Hungary. He was very good defensively. I thought this is really something that he has picked up in the in the Premier League and at Arsenal specifically. Like, because he was kind of a deeper midfielder initially under Arteta, and he just could not cover his position defensively initially. But he has gotten much better at that, and the national team does now benefit from that. He makes a lot of smart runs. He opens up space for Wirtz and Musiala, who especially also in the first game dazzled with their fluidity and got a little lucky. Every shot went in kind of a game against Hungary, then against Netherlands, against a better defense. It wasn't quite as easy. But anyway, that was kind of my take. I thought it was very exciting. I thought this was a great window and made me very excited for the future. One more thing before I give you a turn. I would say that I also appreciated just generally the attitude that Nagelsmann has towards the Nations League, and we can sort of talk about that a little more. But he has said this is important to us. We have limited time before this next World Cup. There's going to be some. He even in an interview gave some math about how many windows are left, et cetera, and he said this is we don't have that much time as a national team to gel together, and we got to take this seriously. We're not gonna mess around, and I think that showed. There was an intensity about the team that we haven't always seen. I mean, under Flick and Löw, we didn't see that in World Cup group games necessarily. And now we have they're going hard in a Nations League game. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, well put. It was really nice to see. It was a really positive window for the German national team. Dennis Undav did score a goal and an assist. He assisted Joshua Kimmich's second goal. Mm-hmm. And just to recap for the listeners at home, Nations League window, Germany beat Hungary 5-0 at home in Düsseldorf. They went to the Johan Cruyff Arena in Amsterdam and fought a 2-2 draw with their neighbors. Netherlands scored both their goals early in each half. I think the first goal scored like a minute and a half in. The second half, same thing, 2 or 3 minutes in. And what I texted you was like, good, this is time, it's not Hungary. This is time to show character. And by halftime, it was 2-1 Germany. They had the ball, They moved around, they weren't freaked out, and they got both their goals before the half. So it was 2-1 Germany by the half. And I was like, amen, brother. So not only was it, it's a bigger talk here. We can get specific, get a little more specific later. But I texted you the malaise with the last couple of years of Löw and then the Flick era. What we saw Germany that moved the ball well. They held the ball well. They kept the ball well. But yeah, they weren't really playing with an urgency. And when it came to the attacking third, they had no ideas. They didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Germany's scoring felt like they were pulling teeth. Even like the World Cup when they played Costa Rica, it was like they eventually scored. It was like crazy 4-2 game. But the whole time it was like, can Germany score? It's like pulling teeth. Can we get a goal?
Yeah,
under Nagelsmann,
I felt Havertz helped a lot in that game. But sorry, yeah.
Well, under Nagelsmann, he essentially got rid of the midfield, as far as midfield possession goes. He's like, get the ball, long passes, the verticality. Nagelsmann introduced some verticality to the German team, and they just spit. You saw. I remember I texted you that beautiful pass. What we saw, these beautiful long passes, just cutting the defense. And finding a Wirtz or a Musiala or an Undav or even a Havertz, even though whoever was feeding who, just one-on-one or like up top with space. And then if they were in the final third, you see Musiala and you see Wirtz rotate and move around and with the wingers. But we saw a lot from David Raum, a little from Kimmich as well. The wingers, the attacking wingers and the wingbacks, the fullbacks, are constantly moving into space and always finding space. And it's like we haven't done that, and we haven't done that in a while. It seems so simple, but it's like the idea is like kind of like a Jose Mourinho, I guess a Thomas Tuchel thing, where it's like quick, move it, get the ball, get it up top ASAP. Look, took, pass, 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 and then when they're in the attacking third, keep them guessing. There was that one movement when Musiala and Wirtz were on the left side together. Remember that? And it's like you do that to confuse the defense. It's like if you keep switching and moving around, what's the defense going to do? They kept getting confused. And it led to all this the whole time. Like watching that makes you feel like, oh, goals are coming. You know what I mean? Whereas I never felt that with Flick, and I did not feel that with Löw there towards the end. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that to me is the big shift in a Nagelsmann. And he did it right. What do we say when he took over? It's like you need to play faster and more direct. I mean, it's as simple as that. And he did it, and he did it wonderfully. This team plays fast, more direct, and then more creative, even though they still hold the ball. Even though it was in Amsterdam, you know, the Dutch were at home, a great crowd, but they were really playing on the counter there. Could have been 2-0 up early, but Germany had the ball. They moved it around. They had the chances. They got themselves their goals in Amsterdam for a competitive game. So it's overall good feelings. Like I just like the peppiness of what's going on. That's the general thoughts. If you want to get specific, the questions of who's going to replace Tony Kroos and all that, Pascal Gross is replacing Tony Gross. Pascal Gross.
Gross for Kroos.
Gross for Kroos, Robert Andrich, and Pavlovic had himself a great window too, I thought. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
That's scored a goal. Pavlovic scored a goal. I think I texted you. If he's going to start scoring, we're going to win the World Cup. There's just nothing else to it. If the two pivot players start scoring goals, then it's really over for everybody else.
And thankfully so. And Pascal Gross is that guy, by the way. If Pavlovic can do it, Pascal Gross can do it too. And so there you go. The new Germany clearly is this. Essentially, he already offered. He's like, this is your starting 11. These are your standbys for the most part. Definitely, it's the Havertz in the middle, being the number 10, with Wirtz and Musiala on the right, on the left and right. The ZDF commentator called him Siegfried and Roy. I'm just like, sure, Siegfried boy. And Füllkrug shows up, man. I love Füllkrug up top. He proves time and time again. He's like, I'm here for it. I'm here to score. Yeah. I'm here to be your number 9.
No, I like him. I like him too. He did not look super sharp. He could have had a hat trick in the first half an hour.
So could have Havertz.
He is like, yeah,
Havertz,
that's true.
Havertz could be more clinical too, to be honest.
Well, I mean, Havertz does a lot of, he does a lot of stuff though. Füllkrug really, if he's sitting in the middle like that, all he has to do is kind of tap it in, or finishes. Yeah, I mean, I think, I think it's time to stop ragging on it's always, no player is perfect, but it's like, sometimes we get too focused on the stuff that people are not doing, and we don't appreciate what they're. I mean, Kai Havertz is a bruiser in that position. He's physically intimidating. He's physically intimidating. This is not something you see on TV as much as you see it in person. I was very struck by this when I saw these guys play in Connecticut. Like, Kai Havertz, a big guy, and so to have somebody, and this is another thing that maybe we haven't mentioned yet. The press is also so improved with this group.
The journalism got much better.
This front line is a serious. These are serious pressing machines. Those three. In a way that, Toni Kroos definitely is not, and Gundogan is not either at this point in his life. So that's also, that is also a chance creator. Like, you can't beat the winning the ball like 3 yards outside of the box in your opponent's half. That's a pretty good position to be in. And this is not something that we saw that well in the previous. And I mean, yeah, Yogi, what you're saying is true, I think, about, we used to say about Yogi Löw, he's never seen a lateral pass he didn't love, like there was just so much.
It gave the other team all the time in the world to just put
so
themselves
much, it was like this sort of systematic possession kind of thing, but that in the end got really stale, and you just had like center backs passing back and forth. One more thing I would say is that what I was really encouraged by is that I don't think it's necessarily like this with this kind of lineup. this is not as personnel dependent, perhaps, as the previous iteration. Like Tony Kroos, there's just nobody like him, like somebody who can receive the ball that deep, but also kind of spread. We don't have anybody like that, and so it's him or nothing. So and Gundogan kind of similarly in a higher position, and so then it becomes very focused on these two guys. But I think in this new lineup, you can imagine, Leroy Sané taking one of those spots. Every once in a while, playing a little bit wider, maybe, or the number 9 is a competition between Undav and Füllkrug. Like I said, even the pivot points. Pavlovic is gonna, if he continues to improve, he's gonna want to start. And same, obviously, in the defensive line, we haven't mentioned Nico Schlotterbeck yet, who was filling in for Tony Rüdiger.
When we're done our love fest, we do need to transition to okay, love fest. Now let's talk about the real talk. And we have a couple of things here in the chat. First and foremost, I'm skipping ahead. Daniel Young, a regular Schnitzel Cup, is sharing some really cool news. Something I was never able to get in New York. He was on the New York City Housing Connect. He's eligible for a place in St. George and Staten Island. I know I always tried to get on the Manhattan Plaza list. So in New York City, they have these lists for affordable housing. I believe that's what this is. It seems that Daniel Young just won. So, hey, he got himself a suite. What do we got? What do we got, Daniel Young? Is that Daniel Young? Is that a president's suite? Is there a hot tub up there or whatever? What are we talking about? What are we talking? With a view over the Manhattan, with Statue of Liberty, and then the
St. George is very nice. St. George is walking distance to the ferry. That's actually a very good area to be in Staten Island. If
you work at FiDi, I mean, what a perfect.
If I'm not mistaken, I at some point when we first had kids, we were contemplating. We had a friend of mine at the time was selling the house that she grew up in Staten Island, and we looked at it a bunch of times. It was a nice colonial. It needed a lot of work, and so in the end we decided against it. But yeah, Staten Island, congratulations.
Staten Island is where they filmed one of the greatest films ever made. You know what that movie is?
What? The Wu-Tang Clan documentary?
One of them. There's one. Wu-Tang Clan documentary is one of them. No, The Godfather, parts 1 and 2.
Really? They shot that?
Yeah, the wedding scene. That's all Staten Island.
Even the stuff in Italy that was shot.
All the stuff in Italy. No.
That's amazing.
Not everything. The stuff in Nevada was shot in Nevada. No, but all the Corleone mansion and the compound. That's all Staten Island. And it's based on Paul Castellano. I think it was Paul Castellano who designed the Staten Island White House, which is a giant white super mansion in central Staten Island, and that's where he ran his crime family. So, fun little fact of Staten Island. I've always wanted to visit the Staten Island White House, but never got around to it. I never explored Staten Island enough. Apparently, there's really good pizza places there. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to see. But anywho, that's little New York stuff. David Riccio, another Schnitzel Cuff, also a former resident of Staten Island.
Back to
Schlotterbeck. Okay, so yeah. And like you said, yeah, Pavlovic and Chan. I'm sure as far as left back, you can get a Mittelstadt in there.
Yeah,
maybe a Robin Gosens might come back into the frame, maybe. Perhaps. He wasn't a part of the roster, but maybe he's around. And I don't really know who Kimmich's standby would be. Most roles have standbys, because up top, even Maxi Bayer could play if Dennis Undav. So, and then Chris
although he did nothing. Maxi Bayer, he came off the bench in both games, and
Maxi Bayer has a big year right now. He's on the national team. He's got a big transfer to Dortmund. He's young. He's got a lot on his shoulders right now.
Yeah, we gotta see if he can deliver, or if he's going to be the next Mukoko.
Perhaps, but and then Andre ter Stegen, which is no surprise, is a solid presence in the back. I felt. He came up with a couple of decent saves, and
he was good.
He also moves the ball well, distributes the ball well, quote unquote, good with his feet. I'm trying to I don't know who the right back standby would be.
I don't know if Thilo Kehrer still has there's Benjamin Henrichs of Leipzig. Yeah,
But
I don't know.
for the most part, a lot of the positions have standbys. So, and which is
Yeah. I
huge.
mean,
Depth.
that's
So
exactly that's what I was saying. It's not like this necessarily has to be the 11. And competition's good. Everybody has to continuously earn their spot in this setup, and that's what's great. But yeah,
what we both
Schlotterbeck.
agreed, what we both agreed is that Schlotterbeck is filling in for an injured Tony Rudiger.
Yeah.
So as Schlotterbeck, who had a really good end of the season last year, I remember that noticeably, because he knows the
Hmm.
pressure's on. People talk Schlotterbeck. He was
Well,
out of the Euros, wasn't he? Or was he part of the Euro roster?
no, he was
Yeah,
not.
maybe. No, he was not.
He did not make the Euro roster. And
So
he had been I mean, Nico Schlotterbeck on a good day looks like the greatest center back in the world. Like he has had games, kind of the Champions League game against Newcastle, I'm remembering, or he has some physical gifts. He's a good passer. He covers a lot of ground, so it's clear why he's where he is, but he also is terrifying at times. And
right.
he has had some real blunders for the national team. I guess the most seared in our
Notorious one.
memory is the late Japan winner by Bochum legend Takuna Asano against where Schlotterbeck looked like, yeah, I've got this, and then all of a sudden
He did not
balls in
get
the net.
this.
And yeah, I guess I don't know. Do we feel this first goal is in that category against the?
I'm not gonna no, but when the first goal, he was 1-on-1 with the keeper, right? And it was like 1 minute in, and I'm just like, where's Ta or Schlotterbeck? Where's everybody? It's like, where are Ta and Schlotterbeck?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably have to look at it more with a magnifying glass, but I don't know if Janssen Ta necessarily covered himself in glory either. But that's sort of the bigger issue, though. That's why I think it's a little unfair to lead on Schlotterbeck. As fun and quick we are going forward, clearly our now vulnerabilities is on the counter, right? So we got caught on the counter a few times, both by Hungary and by the Netherlands. It didn't lead to a goal by Hungary, but it led to 2 goals by the Netherlands. I'm trying to think if I remember the Netherlands goal. The first one maybe is not.
Well,
Could you categorize the first one as a counter?
Well, the first one was so it was so
Quick.
early. I mean,
I think we were still sleeping a little bit.
it
And
was
then the second
kind
one was
of-
the top of the second half. All I know is that with counterattacks, those were things that they did a good job, like Anderlecht getting in
on
there
the
and stuff. They did a good job defending for the most part, but it's a real vulnerability. They are playing a little bit with fire with that. They go
well,
fast.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I thought against Hungary they looked really solid. I thought defensively. I mean, obviously also, yeah, Hungary then I guess only tied against Bosnia, so definitely not that as good a team. I mean, there was some hype.
Which is surprising. The Hungarians aren't pushovers. It's like a Bundesliga quality team. It's like
Well, they
half
have
of them
some,
play for RB
they have
Leipzig.
Sheshko, they have all those Leipzig players. They have
Really
Soboslai,
Orban,
Soboslai
Bulashi.
who plays for Liverpool. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a quality side. They got quality players. Yeah, they're no pushovers.
And so but they did sort of disappoint, right? They were kind of like a dark horse team supposedly for the Euro and didn't quite live up to that. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, in the first game I thought the defense was mostly solid, but against the Netherlands they gave up
For
quite
instance,
a lot.
in that 14th minute, was it Denzel Dumfries? Like there was just a wide open header. I believe it was set piece,
Right.
and no one was marking Denzel Dumfries. He just had a free header, and he missed the target, but he should have nailed that. I mean, that should have been 2-0 right there. So with the defense, the offense is very exciting. Defense is still not perfect, and I'll tell you, maybe I'm being a little harsh here, but Tony Rudiger's do a blunder too. It's not like he's Mr. Rock Solid, when he's playing.
No, he's had some
He's had some brain farts. What's
the
it
second
against
the
Spain?
second
It's a goal
goal
against Spain, right? The second goal against
Scotland.
Spain, didn't he?
It was a Scotland. He got an own goal. He got an own goal against Scotland early, and then, I mean, you said this. Yeah, I think the Spain was hard to. I don't know. That's a different.
The guy jumped over him and got the winner right there at the death, and Tony Woodruff stood there and ball watched.
I think that's harsh. Like, I think he was not in a good position, but yeah. The second goal this time was Jamal Musiala, really. He was trying to dribble out. He had the ball. He was trying to dribble out of right in front of his box and then lost the ball, and that kind of was that. So, yeah, individual. I mean, the first goal, I just watched it again. On the high, it's sort of hard to. It's kind of weird. It's sort of hard to tell. It's like a weird pass through the midfield, and the guy is just weirdly open. So just kind of lack of concentration, I guess, right at the beginning of the game, perhaps. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Then there was a time, I think, right after the half, even though it was an individual mistake by Musiala, I think there was a lot of pressure there, and it did feel like Holland was going to equalize, and there was and it seemed like they were picking on Kimmich a little bit. It seemed like they had decided that the left side was where they're going to find joy, and so that's something to look out for in the future. Like, how well does Joshua Kimmich defend his position on the right?
I thought he was pretty serviceable, but I know last year in the Champions League, Joshua Kimmich was just smoked by Rodrigo. Remember that? He had smoked.
He had some troubles.
So maybe during the Dutch preparations, they're like. During preparations, they're like, that's a weakness. Let's do that. We're as good as Rodrigo. Let's do it.
And I mean, that's kind of that was sort of my question mark in terms of him being the captain. I think I would like him to not play one of the midfield spots. I think the other players we've got there are better. But I also don't know that he's automatically a starter at right back. I think there's perhaps some competition there. So this whole captainship thing, we'll have to see how that goes. But
also with Kimmich, though, Kimmich's in the talk. Kimmich has been better. Like, he just needs to. He's not old. How old is he? He's 29 or something, right? He's in his prime years. He should be as good as he was. So with him, I think it is a case of just him staying focused and keeping the. He's 29 years old. Him just staying focused and being as good as he's been.
Yeah, he's got a couple of years. But, I mean, it's also not like he's untouchable. But he scored a goal, and he's been good. He was good. I'm not saying, not ragging him. But, yeah, I think those are the only, that's if you wanted to pick at something, that would be it. And, but this has been a team, in the not too distant past where they were just leaking late goals against pretty much everyone, and that has improved. Against Hungary, they kept the clean sheet. Ter Stegen made one good save at the end there. Against the Netherlands, they gave up quite a bit, and but that's also a better team. But I thought, this is and there was a lot of possession, a lot of pressure at the end, couple of good chances. Kai Havertz dropped a dime on David Raum's head that he,
right.
It was a header from somewhat far out, so you're not going to say like, he definitely has to score that, but he should have gotten it on target at least, make the goalie make a save. And he was very upset with himself because he kind of really shanked that one.
And at the very death, we were on a great counterattack, but the referee
and the referee called the game as the ball is sailing into the box. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
The only time I've ever seen that is the USA-Uruguay game. I was like, we got the same
crazy.
Ref the Uruguay game.
Referee's like, we're done. I'm like, it's a tie game. Hold on. We're crossing,
Yeah,
we're not gonna
wait till it goes out
you got somewhere to be. Yeah, it's like what's happening? But
Not only that, there was a long pause with that the concussion replacement, right? It was like 3 minutes right then and there.
Yeah,
So it shouldn't have been 3 minutes of stoppage time.
That was weird. That was definitely weird. But at the same time, I was like, this is the kind of game where also we could easily catch one at the end and lose it. And so, yeah, I thought. And, it is still the Nations League. It's not like these results are that crucial. We're looking, this window, we were looking for the new look midfield, and 2 thumbs up for me.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm excited. Can I? So I put in a little joke there a few minutes ago that you missed, talking about how
Oh.
great the new press is, and I was like, yeah, the journalism around German team has been really good.
Oh, the
It's good.
journalism. Oh, I did miss it.
However,
Ah.
the only reason I bring that up is because I would like to do a little rant
Oh.
on America's ESPN FC. I've said before, in American media in general, but definitely ESPN FC, that there's an anti-German bias on the coverage. Did you see their quote-unquote reaction to the Germany-Netherlands game video? It's 20
I
minutes
don't
long.
watch the. I do not respect ESPN FC. Really, no
Yeah, I
matter
watch them
who
too
they,
much.
no matter who they talk about.
They're just too available, and I just love getting triggered. So their entire analysis of the Germany Holland game, and they had a Dutch expert on, no German experts, of course, was the halftime substitution of Matthias de Ligt. They talked about it for 20 minutes. And about how it affects Manchester United and the Ligt and what Ronald Koeman said about the Ligt. Their whole 20-minute analysis of this game was about Matthias de Ligt. And I'm like, I don't even remember Matthias de Ligt. I guess he was there in the first half. I don't know, but there's nothing else to talk about how Germany played or about Netherlands played or the final score or nothing. It's just about Matthias de Ligt the whole time. So poo-poo to ESPN FC. You're welcome, Americans and people out there. We're offering real analysis, real response to this game.
That's right.
Because we watched the game. There's no anti-German bias. Every time when Germany beat France, the ESPN video was what went wrong with France. Germany ties Netherlands. The reaction is let's talk Netherlands. It's always from the other team's perspective.
That's okay. That's all right. We're happy in that. We they'll pay attention when we win the World Cup.
No, they won't. At the end of the World Cup, it'll be like, were they overrated? What was wrong with the losing team? What was wrong? How come the United States didn't win that final? Yeah. What was wrong with that'll be what that is. It'll just be why Pulisic missed the sitter and then Germany ended up winning. And USA had to finish second place.
Stop watching those guys. It's not worth it.
They're on my feed. I don't know. But I do like Football Americans. Like their American coverage is good. But anywho, that's just my side rant.
All right.
But we had another team, and I have much less to talk about.
You want to talk about the other team? I have a little. Well, go ahead.
Thankfully, they were during when I had to work and stuff. So, like for the New Zealand game, I even forgot I had it on in the background, and I didn't miss much at all. I mean, I saw the Netherlands like when USA were about to win 1-0, it pissed me off. So when New Zealand got that Giazzi Zardes bounce off the face equalizer goal at the end of the game, and New Zealand tied 1-1, I was relieved. Because it's like this team doesn't deserve anything. I don't know what's going on.
I was looking at because I saw the stat that the U.S. has lost 3 games in a row, and
more than that.
New Zealand they haven't won in 6 games. I think was
seven
the stat, and
all at home, 7 home games in a row.
And New Zealand has not won in 9 road games. So I was like, this has tie written all over it. They're gonna have a draw. And exactly, sure enough, I texted you. I think when the lineup came out, and I was like, this is a pretty unimpressive. This is a pretty unimpressive men's national team lineup.
Well,
Josh Sargent pulled out last second. He had some kind of injury. So yeah.
Other than Pulisic, it was the starting lineup. I think there was resting. Everyone else was the starter.
Oh no, there was some. Was it? Well, I mean, maybe.
Who even is a starter for the U.S. right now?
I know it's quite.
But the only thing to talk about,
quite something.
The only real thing about this window, it was pathetic. We had a terrible 2-1 home loss to Canada and a 1-1 home draw to New Zealand. We have the tickets were too expensive. Stadiums were empty. It was too hot to even play soccer. Mikey Varas, an adult named Mikey, took over the national team and did nothing with them. He threw them under the bus after the press conference, which isn't wrong. But we've talked about this before, the effectiveness of coaches, and you say they don't have a magic wand. And I'm like, well, what are they, just playing pickup soccer? And this was that. They were playing pickup soccer. As far as I know, Mikey Varas told them nothing and said nothing. This looked like boys playing pickup soccer. I don't know. they were running around pretty haplessly. Could be that they're downtrodden and waiting for Mauricio Pochettino or what, I don't know. However, the only real thing that happened is it's finally official.
It's official. After you haven't been sleeping, you've been shooting up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., sitting up in your bed, having nightmares about Manchester United making last-second offers to Pochettino, or him being kidnapped by some European club on his way to the announcement. It has not happened. It has not happened. Pochettino is officially the U.S. men's national team coach. He has not been to America yet, as far as we know. He has not entered the country.
Friday, New York
and
City.
Perhaps
Friday,
he
New
will
York
not.
City.
Oh, he's coming? He's coming to New York on Friday?
Yeah. New York
I
City,
had not
11
heard
a.m. New York City, 11 a.m. Eastern. Mauricio Poch will be in person for his press conference and announcement.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good
what we got. You should go. We should go. What we got is a video of Matt Crocker on the phone with Poch. So you saw him on the cell phone being like, "We look forward to working with you." Click, and be like, "Poch is in, baby."
Amazing.
So it's fine. And then the Twitter announced it. So that's official. It was a window too late. We would have liked to have had him before this window, because we only have 5 windows left or whatever to the World Cup or something. 5 or 6 or something.
That is so. It's so.
Nuts.
I mean, you say that's so Metro about that's so U.S. soccer. Like they piss away another window because of paperwork. I guess that's how it had to be.
We don't have windows to piss away.
There's not a lot left. There's not a lot left, and this is. Anyway, enough said about that. Yeah, so he's coming. He's coming to New York on Friday. All right, and then on Saturday he's going to go to DC. He's going to watch DC United, NYCFC, and he's going to print Jimmy Sands and Keaton Parks onto his team sheet for the foreseeable future. That's going to be the new. It's going to be the new.
That's the thing. It's a fresh slate.
Midfield.
It's a fresh slate. Who knows? He's so the games, whatever, pathetic games. However, with Poch, people are like, he's a hard ass. You work hard for him. You show up for him. I love it. I was like, we need a guy who, when he walks in the he's not their brother like Greggy B was. He's a freaking father. Like Poch.
Let's not talk about. We cannot
and
talk.
He steps
about
in. He steps in. Yeah, Greg Berhalter will never work a day in his life again. He steps in the locker room, and everyone stands at attention. And the minute they don't play, they get cut. And that's what we need from Poch. He needs to light a fire under their ass and get them ready to play. What's interesting, Bjorn? What do you got?
I mean, the whole like the way that the way people talk about the game is just now there's all this Christian Pulisic was talking about mentality. The team has. I thought we were told that they were running through walls, and before everything was I don't know. Now they're lacking mentality. Now the players
they definitely don't have mentality. Did you see any mentality from the players in the last 7 games of losses?
I mean, but what's up with that? Like it's they're not. I mean, they got to show.
Poch needs to fix that. Needs to light a fire under their ass. I don't know.
I did a little thing. Can we go back? Do you mind taking with me a little journey back to the World Cup of 2022? Not that long ago.
Right.
And I would like to take you on this journey, but I wanna. There's one condition. There's 2
years
one condition.
Ago. 2 years ago.
2 years. Yeah. Year and a half. Or like
No. The fall of 2022.
No, you're right. I mean, it was a little later than September, but 2 years for all practical purposes. So I want you to come on this journey with me, but I have one condition. We cannot talk about the coach. The coach cannot be mentioned when we go back to this. Is that all right?
I mean, depends on the circumstances that we're talking about. Because Gio Reyna didn't play against Wales, and I can't not talk about the coach related to that circumstance.
All right.
But anyway, sorry. Don't you do your thing.
I'll throw Gio Reyna in the mix.
I got some for every game.
We don't have to. We don't have
1-1. You kidding me? 1-1 against.
Okay.
You kidding me?
I'm specifically. I was thinking personally about the Netherlands because we were playing the Netherlands.
Some
and
unnamed
the US
individual played Jesus Ferreira up top, and then brought Haji right on, and he didn't bring
This
Ricardo
is
Pepi
where
to the squad.
You got it.
Some
No,
unnamed
this
individual.
is where I can't take you on this trip if you're going to be like this.
Fine.
Did you get it out of your system? You get it out of your system. You've heard
Ricardo
it here before.
Pepi should have been there.
Stefan, we're just gonna get it out.
It's out.
You
It's
think
out of my, it's out of my
you think
system.
he's the worst coach in U.S. men's national team history? I think he's fine. I think he's okay. I think he's okay.
There were worse coaches before 1990. I just said modern history.
Okay, modern history, worst coach in modern history. I think he's fine. He's a B- coach in my book. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about who played in that game, because neither coach actually played in that game. Because what was remarkable then, and this was much talked about, is how young this U.S. men's national team was. It was like, I think, the youngest lineup, definitely in their history, maybe, that they ever had fielded for a World Cup. It was a younger team in the tournament. The youth was emphasized, right? And so It's interesting to see 2 years later what happened. Where are they now? And if you look, I've got the if you compare those two teams, and in the idea back then was that this is a sort of talent is kind of equal, like more or less that they're sort of evenly matched, more or less. But if we look now 2 years later and look at these two teams, we gotta. And it's also just in general, I guess, interesting to do that exercise anyway, because things never work out that linearly in a soccer career. Like some things go well, some do not. So if we start with,
I have to mention
Holland,
something real quick. You triggered me again.
Okay.
Someone who shall not be named, after the game, complained that he didn't have the quality of a Memphis Depay. He said, once you look at Memphis Depay, he just went to the semis with PSV or whoever's playing with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That was also really triggering, because who do we have in our roster? We had Juventus players, we had Chelsea players, we had Champions League winner Christian Pulisic. He blamed the fact that we didn't have quality players like Memphis Depay. That's all I'm going to say. You mentioned that there was a criticism there'd be equal talent. He who shall not be named disagreed. He felt the Netherlands had more talented players. And he didn't have anything of the talent that someone like a Memphis Depay would be. So that's all I'm going to say. Sorry, continue.
Okay. So, all right. So now 2 years later, we're looking at the Netherlands starting lineup. There's the goalie. The goalie is very funny. Noppert of Holland. I don't know how I tried to look at this. How did he even make the team? He had very little experience with the national team. He played for a low-level Eredivisie club. He got just called into the squad to his own surprise, and he was a starter. So he now is no longer playing. He doesn't have a club. So he is not a success story. However, then if we look at the three center backs, we have Virgil van Dijk. He still plays
best
for
center
Liverpool.
back in the world. Yeah.
Center back. I mean, ESPN thinks
right
it's
now,
Tony
probably,
Rudiger.
yeah.
Top
five.
top five. Whatever. We don't have to quibble about details. Nathan Ake is there. He's playing for Man City, the best team in the world, perhaps one of them. Right. Julian Timber is the third one. He is now fighting for a starting spot at Arsenal. He has he's moved there, and he's sort of the new young hope there. He's probably going to start at some point soon. We have
so he's a bench warmer. Is what you're saying? He sits on the bench.
He's not a bench warmer. He's an expensive Arsenal acquisition, and he's gonna be a starter probably before the season's over. I would say. We'll see. I mean, that's obviously a prediction. We have Denzel Dumfries. He is not a starter. He's playing for Inter Milan, so not a bad team, but he is currently not first choice. He has played 16% of his minutes this year. So he was one of the midfielders. Then we have
but he always plays for his crest. When we watch Holland, you watch Denzel Dumfries. I can't think of a Dutch
No, he's
game
still
where you don't bring up
he's still very good.
Danso.
I'm just saying, you know, like where are we now? We have Martin de Roon is a midfielder. He's 33. You know, this is not obviously the Dutch team. It's a little apples and oranges because they were not that young. De Roon is now 33. He doesn't start for the national team anymore, but he still plays all the minutes for Atalanta in Serie A. Frankie de Jong plays for Barcelona. He's got this mysterious ankle injury currently, so he's not playing right now. But I mean, you know, he played a lot for Barcelona last year, and presumably will play again. Davi Blind is a starter for Girona, the kind of sensation of La Liga, and plays 100% of their minutes currently. Also at age, how old is he? 34 years old.
So gotta be Daily Blind, yeah. He's been around.
Still, same. Davy Klaassen does not have a team. He's 31, so he is not as old, but he is currently without a club.
He was with Ajax up until last year, right?
He was with
Bremen,
Ajax,
and then he went to Ajax,
and he
right?
had some, but currently not. And Cody Gakpo, he plays for Liverpool. Also, a little bit in and out of the lineup with the new coach, so not a 100% starter, but he's scored some goals. And then the guy you mentioned, Memphis Depay, he is about to transfer to Corinthians in Brazil.
Oh, that's right. I think
his career seems to be winding down a little bit.
It's not every day that European goes to South America to retire.
Yeah, he's going to be reunited with, or not reunited. He's going to be united with NYCFC ex-player Talis Magno and Philadelphia Union ex-player Jose Martinez. So it's going to be.
That's why he went there.
That's why he wanted to play with Talis. So that's their starting lineup, and then they had. Matthias de Ligt came off the bench. You mentioned him before. Steven Bergwijn, he just went to Saudi Arabia. Wout Weghorst, and Xavi Simons, who is now RB Leipzig. He's now one of the more expensive young players out there. He's playing for Leipzig now, and he's going to be.
Crew, man.
Yeah, and they have held up, and now, you know, we've done this. We can make this shorter, because we all know Jesus Ferreira. Starting Jesus Ferreira at the 9 was a mistake immediately. I think it was, Josh Sargent
had goals for FC Dallas anymore.
Josh Sargent had an injury. Haji Wright would have been the better choice. That's especially. But then
Ricardo Pepi would have been the ideal choice, but he wasn't on the roster.
But he wasn't even there. Yeah, he wasn't even on the roster. Yeah, and so. But then 2 years later, we have Christian Pulisic. He's doing fine with AC Milan. He's starting their games, right? I haven't checked, but yeah.
They're having a bad start this season, but he's playing. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Weah not starting for Juve, but playing in Italy. Weston McKennie also not getting minutes yet, right? Also keeps fighting for his spot on the roster. I mean, that's basically, and I mean, I mean this unsarcastically. I think he is to be respected for keeping his. They keep trying to get rid of him,
right?
And he keeps like convincing them otherwise. So that is that's impressive. But it's not.
Last summer, he didn't even have a locker,
right?
And he fought his way back. And this summer, they announced publicly he's not part of their plans. Then after a month, they re-announced. You know what? He is part of our plans.
We're gonna keep him, but he's struggling for playing time for sure. Tyler Adams hasn't. He's perennially injured currently again. Yunus Musa also not first choice. At AC Milan, he's not a starter. Jedi Robinson still starts for Fulham. Tim Ream has moved back into MLS. He's playing for Shaw. He's also, I mean, he's not. He probably single-handedly brought the average up by a year and a half of this.
He was our one vet. He was our
crew.
only
He
vet.
was the one vet. So this is no knock on him. Obviously, he's
and also he was great. By the way, he had a really good tournament. Yeah, he had a really
very
good tournament.
good for sure. Walker Zimmerman, we're not really talking about anymore as a national team center back.
He
He's
went to
still
the
at Nashville.
Olympics. And, yeah, he's at Nashville.
Yeah, so he's and Serginho Dest is hurt. Is also injured, kind of
Hurt,
forever.
yeah, long-term injury. Yeah.
Matt Turner came from went from third to second now. He's not playing. And then we had off the bench, we had Giorena actually did play in this game.
Right.
And he's struggling for playing time. Brennan Aronson is playing for Leeds somewhat. Jordan Morris is playing for Seattle. Haji Wright, DeAndre Yedlin.
Haji Wright's playing for Coventry City. Haji Wright came off the bench and scored the goal. Right. One goal we had in that game. Yeah. And then DeAndre Yedlin, who is retired, but he plays in Seattle and Cincinnati or whatever.
So looking back,
what's your point?
My point looking back is like, why would that team? In what world would you think that team would beat that other team?
They didn't. They lost terribly.
Yeah.
Yes. What's your point?
That's it.
This took 25 minutes.
Why would that be so? It's not surprising, is what I'm saying. It's not at all. If you look back and you compare these two lineups, you think, yeah, that team's going to win 3-1. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but in U.S. soccer history, we punch above our weight. Look at the USA Portugal teams of 2002. We got Luis Figo, Rui Costa, all these guys losing 3-2 to frickin' Tony Sane, and I mean, who else? I mean, Brian McBride played for the Columbus Crew. You have to punch above your weight. That's expected. We talked about this before. It's an expectation we have.
But that's what I've made that point before, that 2002 team was position for position was better than the 2022 team.
Not on paper, no. I think I would also challenge that. Just the mentality was much better because they had much better coaching.
But they had players that were starters for their teams. They had players that were shouldering
smaller, but
shouldering responsibilities for their teams in a way that this group is not.
True.
My point
they
is,
were an older team. They played for smaller clubs, but they were more high usage players back then, and that's what's missing. That's the whole mentality thing you're talking about. That's what's missing. That's the mentality that's missing. It's the fact that all these guys are soft. Tim Ream might have been the only vet, and he had a great tournament. Maybe it was his experience that made him play a little bit better than everybody else. We're missing a little bit of that experience. But this team, they're 25 now. They're not 19. So they're slowly getting into their prime years. It's time. But that's the point.
That's the point I'm making. These guys may just not be that good.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. Some soccer players are good. Some soccer players are bad. The U.S. men's national team is a selection of the best players we have. So Poch has to do it. He's going to start from a clean slate. And he's going to get the best players we have. He has to have them playing above their weight. He has to get the mentality fixed, which didn't really do well under Greg. The players are way too comfortable under Greg, so he has to fix all that. So the very easy stuff to fix is the Greg stuff, because Greg did all the bad stuff. So that's very easily fixable by a decent coach. The quality of player, Poch can't do anything about. That's true. Neither could Greg. But Poch could make them like what Jesse has Canada doing. He has them playing like they give a crap. He has them playing competently, and he has them shouldering responsibility. Like I'm not Mauricio Pochettino. I'm not a good coach, but good coaches have ways. Like what was the difference between Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen and Gerardo Zeroni's Leverkusen? They were identical rosters. What do you think the difference was, Bjorn?
I don't think they are identical. No, they were not identical rosters. They also
Gerardo Seoni did have Kai Havertz, and Xabi Alonso was without Kai Havertz. That is the one difference.
No, but there were some other. It's not the same roster. That's not true. They also were. They made some smart buys, and Xabi Alonso. Yeah, and
how much better is this? So Bayer Leverkusen, you're saying one because they just have all these better players now all of a sudden from before when Zaoni was.
No, it's multiple. It's not just one thing. I mean, Xabi Alonso's done a great job. There's no question about it. He also is we will see. We will see. Time will tell. But he seems to be an exceptionally talented coach. I'm not saying things won't change. That's not. I would caution against too high expectations.
Well, what I will say is, the part of the shift with Poch to Greg is now the blame isn't going to be on Poch. The blame is going to be on the players. So the discourse on the fan boards is the players are underperforming, and they are. They're playing like crap. They play worse for the crest than they do for their clubs. So can Poch fix that? He should.
But they're
also
not
it's on the
that, they're not that great for their.
They're
not that great. They're not that great for their clubs either. A lot of them don't get on the field.
They're good enough
for their teams.
They're good. They're Pulley and Reyna and a healthy Tyler Adams. I mean, these guys are better than anyone's ever played for the U.S. in history ever. People like to look at the past with rose-colored glasses. You know, Landon Donovan wasn't good enough for Bayern München. They made fun of him. Look at Tony's like, can I bring my brother here? We're just going to have Mickey Mouse people playing here because he wasn't talented enough. He goes to Everton, and he's a big sensation at Everton because Everton is a small club. Okay, Bayern München is an elite club. Pulley, on the other hand, has no problem crushing it in AC Milan. All right. Gio Reyna, when doing well, back when he was with Erling Haaland, he was on a string doing well at Borussia Dortmund. Something that Jovan Kroski couldn't even get on the bench at Borussia Dortmund. So like these players can play. They're a batch of good players. Anthony Robinson was up for AC Milan. Anthony Robinson consistently gets linked with Man United and stuff like that. He's consistently ranked one of the best left backs in the Prem.
I think
these guys are good.
Yeah,
we've never had a left back that good before.
He's definitely a standout. That's true.
I love Steven Trundle. Don't get me wrong, but Steven Trundle's prime was in the Bundesliga 2. He was a Hannover 96 week in week out player. Eventually vice captain, but they were an elevator club. They were on the bottom rungs of the Bundesliga or in the second division. We've got those guys too. I mean, Haji Wright and Josh Sargent. Look at what Aidan Morris is doing at Middlesbrough. The quality of championship and second division players we got is good. Back in the aughts, that's who we like. Those were our best players, were guys like that. Now those are our like fringe players. So like our quality of squad is better. It is better, but they're very young, and the mentality needs to improve. They need to do better for their clubs and the national team. So. You know, it is. There's nothing I can't force them to do that. But if they start failing, they get dropped and they get replaced by a hungrier player. So forth. So move forward. Like that's what it'll be. Poch has to start with a clean slate, and he has to play players who are showing up. And the other thing about Poch is I think the players will show up for him too. I think there's that aspect to it as well.
I think that's. I think that's true. I'm fascinated. I am like you were saying earlier, I am not that big a fan of that. I mean, I feel some sympathy. If they put Jimmy Sands back on the team, I will be a rabid fan immediately. So
if everyone fails and he shows up, then he won't be back.
I promise that. But right now I'm still sort of
back in the day, Claudio Reyna couldn't get on the field. Claudio Reyna was a bench warmer. He was a bench for Sunderland. He dumped him. He was a bench for Manchester City. They were relegated. He just sat on the bench and rotated, and his team's always relegated. He was always on the worst teams of the Prem. It wasn't because he was unlucky. It's because that's the quality of a player he was at the time. He excelled in Scotland. He did well in Germany, but he sunk when it came to English top flight. Is that a coincidence? No, it's quality related. Carlos Bocanegra was good for Fulham. Like we had a good batch of guys for Fulham, but Fulham is an elevator club. Carlos Bocanegra settled at Rangers and then in France. We got guys in France. We got guys at Rangers, Scotland, and France. Right? We don't look super highly on them now. As far as Americans on the elite, we had Tim Howard at Man United. He was not good enough. He did that he was pretty poor there towards the end. He did that big blunder against Porto and lost his spot, and him and Roy Carroll rotated. And Man United to fix their goalkeeping situation by hiring Edwin van der Sar. Pulisic is the first American in American history that was good enough for an elite club. And I do believe someone like a Gio Reyna has the same talent if he can stay healthy, but whenever he got injured while not playing again. And Nuri Sahin just said he's quote-unquote sad that Gio Reyna is going to be out for quote-unquote weeks. I mean, Gio Reyna just can't stay healthy. And then, and Tyler Adams, when focused, also when he's healthy, the bigger issue is Americans need to stop eating Chipotle or something. Like, Americans are fragile. They need to have stronger bones or something.
Well, but I think this is also just what happens, right? I mean, I think that's also the difference between the U.S. player pool and the Netherlands, for example. There's just a depth to it, and so if you get called for the national team in Germany or in the Netherlands or whatever, that means you're pretty good, and then you just take another boost. In the U.S. men's national, we're constantly looking for somebody. So people get those spots very young. You know, if you have a couple of starts for a European team, you're guaranteed a little time. I mean, you know, Mixed Discoroot, I mean, that's a while ago now, but I mean, Mixed Discoroot was really never very good, but all of a sudden, because nobody's watching.
There's a lot of players who play in Europe that don't get any minutes now. It's different.
So you get these people on the national team in the hopes of development, in the hopes of future improvement, and that's just the reality. It just doesn't always happen. And I think, you know, that was kind of the point of my exercise. Like, you know, which one of those players has taken a step forward in the last 2 years? Like, Christian Pulisic has found a club where he can start. That's important.
And he's staying healthy.
But everybody else has stagnated or taken a step back. I think Jedi Robinson is a fair point. He's been very solid for Fulham, and he does get linked with bigger teams. He has that potential, but everybody else is, and you know, obviously nobody chooses to be injured. I'm not blaming the players, but it's like it's just not guaranteed, is what I'm saying. You know, you're saying, oh, we have this young team, they're going to all get better and better. Maybe not, and that's the point. There's definitely more talent. There's more people in the pipeline than there were back then, for sure, no question. The world is changing, but Pot's got his work cut out for them. If you look at this New Zealand lineup, there's not a lot of, you know, I mean, I make fun of that.
It's really about the performances. It's not really about the lineup.
You know, it's like Johnny Cardoso and Aiden Morris. I mean, those are not. You know, they're not going to win the World Cup, but it'll be super interesting. This whole, like you were saying, everybody got this high profile guy. I mean, I think by all accounts, I think we totally agreed, right? Like when we went through that list of people that he's it. Like if that's the profile you're looking for, he's the best, or one of, you know, up there with the best candidates. So they got their guy, and now we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah,
and I think you know, the players. I mean, the expectations are high, and I think that's going to be. We're going to see who lives up to that.
Yeah, like they need to play. Players need to play like they have a spot to earn. And they got games to win. So I think Poch will do that. But I look forward to it. All right, back to Danny Young. Hopefully Germany can play at the Lincoln Financial. Philly's hosting games, right? Am I wrong? I think DC is not hosting games, but Philly's hosting games, right, for the World Cup?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I have not internalized
maybe I have to double check. Hopefully it'll be Germany, Nigeria, and Peru, Swiss. Yeah, it's very specific. I hope that happens too, and I hope they're only $100. Got to save up. Tickets are next fall. I got to save up for that.
It's not going to be $100. I'm sorry to say.
Nosebleeds, maybe. Well, anywho,
I think parking will be $100. I think you're going to be able to park your car for $100.
I am in a geography class, and we talked about sustainability. And he was like, how many people took public transit here? And I did not, and I had no excuse because there's a free bus that I learned that goes straight from my house to school and back. So I used that today, and it worked wonders. And I took public transit, and it was free. And I am what's right with the world, Bjorn. Okay, so one quick MLS topic I want to talk about because I can't ignore it. I guess we can wait till Monday, but I really want to talk about it right now.
All right. Oh, I will not be here. I will not be here on Monday.
We don't know what's happening on Monday. Maybe there'll be an episode. Maybe there won't. We'll see. But the only MLS thing I want to talk about, I know we're running long, but Columbus Crew, no goalkeeper, losing 4-0.
All right. Oh, boy.
An MLS that, you know me, I'm going to fucking pardon my French. I'm going to freaking
Please.
explode here. MLS is full of dumb rules. Dumb. Today I learned that you can only call up youth players from youth squad 4 times a year or something along those lines, which I didn't know. And that drives me up a wall. It's like you should be able to call up your youth players whenever you want, anytime. We need youth development to improve. This should be like this game where Columbus Crew, both their keepers were off the national teams, and their main guy, they only had one guy left, and he was not allowed to get a red card. And what did he get in the 40th minute? He got a red card. So an outfield player had to be a keeper, and they got scored 4 goals on him by Seattle. And the reason that's the case is because the league forbade them to bring any of their youth keepers they had because of a rule that they already called up 8 guys throughout the season or some dumb rule like that. And it just pisses me off. I mean, they probably lost the shield race because of that rule. I don't know. What's your thoughts? Shouldn't your youth squad be able to be used whenever? That's A. B, a follow-up to this. Once upon a time, and I didn't know if this year was included, or I assume this year was included, there is an MLS quirk that other leagues do not have called pool players. MLS pool players. These are players that have a player contract with the league, but they don't have any contracts with any of the clubs. They include mainly goalkeepers, I believe, specifically for this reason. I think they're pool keepers. And so they train with a club. Tim Melia is an alumnus of this very great program. They would train with a club and then be there for emergencies to any club that needed one. Why couldn't Columbus Crew use a pool keeper for this game? Is pool keeping still a thing?
It is not.
But there was one last year. I looked it up.
Yes, this is the first. This is the first year. This is the first year where they didn't do that. So the pool keeper,
first year where they needed one, I think.
Where they
I can't
needed
think of
one.
too many other scenarios where they needed one.
I am the Crew naysayer. I have appointed myself as the naysayer, I'm the anti-Crew guy. Everybody loves Wilfried Nancy. Everybody loves the Crew. Everybody's we've played them 3 times. And they've beaten us in weird and controversial ways. And so I am a Crew detractor. I'm on record as being anti-Crew. I'm working myself up to being a Crew hater. So in that role, listen, I agree with you in theory. They should have made an exception. There's other people who got other teams got Olympic exceptions.
Hold on. What exception? What rule is this? There should be
there was an exception if you're. Well, no. I mean, there are some rules about like how many you can call them up 4 times, and then after you do that,
Why?
then you can't do it anymore because otherwise you have to sign them to a pro contract. If you can just swing them back and forth, then why do you have a roster? Now, here's the thing that nobody talks about because everybody likes to hate on MLS and the stupid rules and the complicated blah blah blah, and rightfully so. I do not disagree with that in spirit. I think the rules are crazy. Although that's like every team, every league has rules. You can't just like endlessly promote second team players back and forth. There's always restrictions, or else you got to sign them to a contract, which the Crew had the option to do. They could have signed any one of these players to a pro contract. New York City FC, we do this all the time. It's like, oh, for this game we had to sign this guy to a short-term contract because we're locking play, and they chose not to do that. And Wilfried Nancy.
No, hold on. That's what wasn't available. Those were not available.
No, they could have signed anyone. They could have signed an extra. They could have signed an extra goalkeeper to a short-term contract, but they chose not to do that. And Wilfried Nancy said, "Well, if the timing's not right, you don't want to do it. You don't want to." And we should have just gotten this exception.
Would they still
And
be allowed
so-
to play with the youth squads after that? Probably not then.
Well, but then once the contract runs out, they can go back. Also, they can have pro players sitting back. Yeah, obviously there's some downsides, and you have to give somebody a contract, and then they make more money, and then they're on the, So there is some, but I mean that's just what a pro roster is. There are some, but that's the thing that didn't come
Hold
up.
on.
Everybody is like,
Hold on. In the Bundesliga, when Bochum's top 3 keepers are called up by their countries for the World Cup, because Bochum is the
well,
three
then
best
Bochum,
keepers.
then Bochum doesn't,
the
then
thing.
Bochum doesn't play. Well,
No,
this is an
they do.
extremely
They call up.
far-fetched-
They call up
an
2
extremely
keepers from
far-fetched
the reserve
example.
squad. But they call up 2 keepers from the reserve squad to fill in. No problemo.
In Germany,
rules
we don't
against that,
play
Germany.
through the international break, and that's
I'm just-
really
you
the.
You understand what I'm trying to say here? In Germany, stuff like that does not exist. When your keeper's leg's broken, and then your bench keeper also broke his leg, and then your third place keeper got suspended the last week, then you call up your reserve keeper to play. So your reserve keeper is allowed
Yeah,
to
but
play.
you got to sign him. You got to sign him to a contract. You're not just gonna.
I don't know if that's
lead
the case.
somebody. Lead somebody. Yeah, that's the case.
Hold on.
Of course it is.
On Reddit, there was a Manchester City youth contract from 2007. It was very, very interesting. And the contract is like, hello, we'd like to sign you for the season. You're part of our Manchester City Academy team or whatever. The rules are like this. You get paid $500 a week. If you get called up for the first team for a filler, we'll give you another $500 bonus. And if you get on the field, you get £1,000. And that was it. It was just throughout the whole season, if they were to go up and play, it's part of their youth contract, but they just got a bonus for that. But then back to the youth squad they go. There was no extra contracts that had to be signed.
I'm not gonna pretend to be intimately familiar with the roster, but it's like if he plays every game, at some point they're gonna have to give him a.
Sure, but that is an
another-
extremity. My
But
big
this
issue
time,
is
but
the
in this case,
4-game limit.
they've called them up 4 times already, so it's not like. Anyway, I'm bored with my own argument in the sense that because I don't disagree with you that this was
fans
ridiculous.
lose. They paid money.
But I
to
think
go to the
that,
game.
but I think Columbus is partly to blame. I think they had other options and chose not to use them. And I think that's and it's obviously it's always more fun to blame the league, but then they kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, my argument is they should have never been put in that position in the first place. I think it should be, or they should have been granted an exception. I mean, if 2 of their players, because it's during an international break.
That's what they were. That's what they were counting on, because other teams had that exception for the Olympics. Like during the Olympics, people got extra call-ups, but I guess for this one, this was denied, and it probably shouldn't have been. Blah blah blah. I agree. I agree with that.
Especially during
But
an international
in the end, they had more options. My thing is, they should just not play. It's international break.
Right, so
Don't play.
Shouldn't be playing. If your best player,
The
for instance,
end.
the New York Red Bulls were losing like 5 guys again.
This is always this is always a distortion of some way or another. This. I mean, it's getting less that people play. There's fewer games and blah blah blah. But this is always a thing. There's always a distortion because of this. So that's the solution. Just don't play.
That's the bigger issue.
But
we should not be playing international breaks. That is
Columbus was partly at fault here. They had other options and they didn't choose. But everybody loves Columbus and everybody hates MLS rules. But I'm here to take the other side. I'm the
you always are.
the crew the crew hater.
Yeah, the only coach you ever liked of theirs was Greg Berhalter.
When you say stuff like that, it really makes me angry because that's not true. I just called him a B-. I just called him a B- coach. I just don't blame him for everything bad that's ever happened to this really mediocre group of players.
Yeah.
In what level should they have won anything? This group with any coach.
This mediocre.
But now we're
group
going to
is more
see. Now we're
talented
going to
than any
see.
group.
Now we're about to see what this international elite.
This group of players doesn't have the likes of a David Regi or an Eric Ronaldo. You're right, real world beaters, But they just have to do. They're just gonna have to do their best with Christian Pulisic. I guess.
All right, we're gonna see what happens. I'm
You know,
just cautioning.
Clay
I'm
Toyman, they don't
cautioning.
have anymore. You know.
I'm cautioning realism.
Nuremberg, Zweiten Bundesliga, Nuremberg's rotation superstar Tony Sané, they don't have. Unfortunately, they have to be stuck with someone like a Jedi Robinson. You know, but they should be able to make it do. They should be able to make it do. This mediocre crowd.
Oh, sarcasm.
You know?
I see now. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, people look back at our past.
So you think this?
most of the
You
last
think?
players,
You think? You think this team is a? What is your? What do you think is going to happen in 2026? What is your hope? What are you hoping for this team for 2026, which is now less than 2 years away?
Yeah, quarterfinals, semifinals would be a dream, like Morocco. Essentially, for us, the bar is what South Korea did in 2002, what Morocco did in 2022, what Turkey did in 2002. It's the run to the semis, that ill-fated run to the semis, the dark horse run to the semis. That's what I want. Now we have done that once in the past, but it was before World War II, so it almost doesn't count. We were one of those exceptions. Sweden made a run to the final when they hosted in '58. Like, we want a dark horse run. Are we going to win the World Cup? No, but a fun run to the semis and maybe winning that bronze medal match. You know, just like how Morocco did it in 2022. Does the Morocco squad that much of a higher quality than the U.S. squad, do you think? The answer is no. The answer is name one Moroccan player. Name one. Only one. I'm only asking for one.
There was the Chelsea guy. Ziyech.
Okay, you got one. Name two. Name a second one.
Moving the goalposts. I got
exactly.
one.
I know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, Morocco doesn't have. If the U.S. is
ask a Moroccan to name one U.S. men's national team player, they'll struggle too.
Well, but I'm not trying. You know, like, you don't have to be mediocre teams, and the U.S. isn't a mediocre. I'd call them like a secondary level squad. They're not elite. They're the level below elite.
You're hoping they'll be Sweden.
Elite can run to the semis. Now, what do I realistically want to happen? Quarters, I think. Quarters would be nice.
You're hoping to be Sweden and not South Africa.
Right.
As far as
Sweden run, not the South African run.
Host nations go.
Or Qatar, or Qatar, or whatever. We don't want to be the Qatar. Because Qatar didn't make it out either. Yeah, you know, so that's what I want. But more realistically, it's very simple. We beat Canada at home. We beat New Zealand at home. Okay, we beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And then the big teams like the Netherlands and Germany, we make sure they've been in a fight. We give them something. It should be if we only scored type situation in those games. It should never be a 5-0 blowout from Colombia.
It's a
or
new
2-1
era.
home loss to Panama. That's not allowed. Or a 1-0 home loss to Uruguay at a must-win game. That's also not allowed. We allowed to have that sometimes, but it can't be all the time. So that's what we want under Poch. Hour 22, man. Let's do it. The Poch era begins, and the German era under Nagelsmann can thrive.
Yeah.
So a thriving era and a potentially great era under Poch. We can only go up. I know we can't get worse. I hope we can't get worse. We can't get worse.
It can always get worse.
Let's hope not. I hope not.
I mean, things have gotten a lot worse recently, you know? I mean,
yeah, it's one of the worst U.S. teams I've seen in a long time.
It's been quite poor. This has been a very poor summer plus fall for the U.S. national team. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that kind of, we could have done 2 episodes instead of 1, but this is fun. You just can't.
The other thing I'll say,
how much I love Greg Berhalter. I don't love him that much. I just don't think he's to blame for everything.
I don't want him to take any more of my headspace for a while.
All right. Listen, I offered for you to not talk about him at all.
But I have to defend. I have to defend logic a little bit.
Defend what? Like, what was the?
But the only thing I will say is there was a big gap from the old days to new. There was some weird gap when Pulley was too young and Dempsey was too old. There was a weird gap in the U.S. pipeline. And like I said, these boys are becoming 25 now. But you got your Kevin Sullivans and your Aidan Morrises and your other little 18-year-olds coming up. And And I'm hoping that the pipeline just stays continuous moving forward. That's my wish. So that depth, we're talking about that depth. So we got, like, you got a 29-year-old who's crushing it. Then you got some 19-year-olds also crushing it at home. So there needs to be just that pipeline. I like that pipeline to flow continuously moving forward.
It's just a slow, it's a slow process. It's like it doesn't happen that quickly. And there still is a big, that's really the only point I'm making. There's still a huge gap between the top nations and the US. And it's changing, but it'll take some time.
But teams like us are allowed. We used to win sometimes, but then we stopped winning. Other teams win sometimes. Like, look at these past rounds. It's surprising results. I don't have any in front of me, but like, a Finland will beat England or something.
Well, in the Euro, we've had that in the Euro a lot. We've had Greece winning. We've had Denmark winning.
Right.
We've had
I'm talking individual games.
In the World Cup.
Individual games.
Well, yeah, sure.
Talking in general. Like when USA plays Germany in the World Cup, they're allowed to win that sometimes. If Japan can do it, the United States should be allowed to do it at some point, don't you think? Germany will win most of them, but sometimes the US are allowed to win too.
I was extremely concerned in 2002 that would happen.
It was close. It was close. Under Bruce, it was close. Under Bob and Bruce, and it happened. Under Klinsmann, it happened. Under Greg, it never happened. That just stopped. It's like we can't beat anybody above our weight ever. And it's like, well, we used to be able to do that sometimes.
Beat Mexico a bunch of times in a row. You gotta be thankful for
if Saudi Arabia can beat Argentina, and if Morocco can run to the semis and beat Spain, aren't we allowed to have any given Sunday ourselves sometimes too? But under Greg, it was like, no, not at all. You have to have any of the older coaches for that. It's like, it's time for one of the newer coaches for that. We need an outro. That's you, bud. I've been waiting on you for the last 5 minutes.
Let's do it.
Yeah, unless you have other things you want to say.
That's it.
All right, so that's been it. The name of this episode is Germany Good, USA Bad.
Germany Good, USA Bad, but better days are ahead, perhaps.
We don't
Depending
know.
on who you ask. Some people are some of the Schnitzel boys are more optimistic than others currently. But I'm very optimistic in the very long term, but in the short term, Poch's got his work cut out for him, in my opinion.
Will Germany win the 2026 World Cup? Maybe.
Who knows? This is definitely the most optimistic I felt about this team in a bunch of years. Maybe ever. I didn't think in 2014 we'd win. That was a complete shock. In Brazil,
it wasn't a complete shock.
It kind of as the tournament went on, it became less of a shock. But if you had said, if you had asked me in 2014 before the tournament, I would have said, no, we're not going to win. No way. And
I was more optimistic because it was a great young squad. 2010 was really great. And I was like, 2014, they're a more experienced team. I definitely felt they could win, and then they did win. I don't know, they were pretty confident.
But no European team had ever won in a South American tournament. That was a big...
True, but then when 7-1 happened, I was like...
Well, yeah, of course, but like...
It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, okay. And you saw that coming before, right? Before
no.
the game. Oh, yeah, we're going to blow those guys away, the home team.
But no, I didn't see that, but I definitely did. I felt the potential maybe. But when Germany played Brazil, I was like, Brazil's playing with heart, Germany's playing with their mind. So this is...
Well, I definitely thought the Brazilian team would collapse. They were so over emotional.
Yeah,
and thankfully it was
held Neymar's jersey. They held Neymar's jersey.
It was It was just
it's like he's injured, but
it was just
you
weird.
gotta focus. You gotta focus.
Anyway, so are we gonna win? It's hard to win a World Cup, man, but like this team's looking good. I could see when I look at the German lineup, I see a team that could win. That is on paper strong enough to win the World Cup. Yes,
as long as
everybody stays healthy, everybody. Yeah.
Spain. As long as they don't have to play Spain, then they'll be good.
Yeah, Spain is the boogeyman.
And Argentina at that time, Messi will be 40. I don't know if Argentina will still be the Argentina in 2 years. I don't know. Let's see.
That'll be good, but we can beat Argentina.
I agree. We've done it every time, I think, except for once.
They would also
All right,
love to
just-
beat us. On the other hand.